What's up, everybody? It's Isaiah, and welcome back to Set Sail. We're going to be finishing up Ecclesiastes today by looking at chapters 7 through 12. So to reiterate a little bit of what we talked about yesterday, this whole book is essentially Solomon's research paper. He's taking all of his resources, all of his wisdom, knowledge, influence, wealth, and power, and he's using everything he can think of to find some form of lasting satisfaction. And what we found looking at the chapters yesterday is that ultimately he's not finding any lasting satisfaction with the things of this world. And he continues this pattern in chapters 7 through 12. We see him test a few other things that we didn't see in the past chapters, namely fame, his name, reputation. We even see him test things like youth. I'm not sure about you, but that's not something I would have thought to test for satisfaction. But he's not really finding anything that's going to provide that lasting satisfaction he looks for. And he kind of comes to a conclusion as to why. He talks a little bit about it in chapters 1 through 6, but he talks more about it in chapters 7 through 12. And it's ultimately that we're all headed in the same direction, regardless of what our earthly life looks like, and that is death. He talks a little bit about how death comes for man and beast alike. Death comes for the just and the unjust alike, and the wise and the foolish alike. Essentially what he's saying is all of this stuff I'm testing is vanity, because regardless of whether I have it or not, it all goes away when I die. And death comes for everybody. And it looks a little bleak, but luckily, Solomon doesn't stop there. We see peppered throughout the entirety of the book is this call to trust and obey God, because God gives us these worldly things to do and to enjoy, not for their own sake, but for an ultimate worship and adoration of Him. And nowhere do we see this call to trust and obey stronger than in chapter 12. This is the finale of Solomon's report here, looking at chapters 13 through 14. And he simply says, obey the commands of God and trust in Him. Have faith, because God is going to take into account every deed done. He's going to make every secret thing known, whether good or evil. Essentially, God is in complete control of things in heaven and on earth. And as long as I trust in Him and obey Him, I can find satisfaction in the arms of our Lord. And that's really where I think we find our hope in as we read this book. And I think we as believers, this is why this isn't a melancholic book for us, because we are in the arms of the Lord and we have this hope. We have this ultimate fulfilling satisfaction. So today I want to leave you with one final thing. I am a musical person, clearly, and I like to think in songs. So I want to leave you with two songs from Shan. And if you know anything about me, you're going to roll your eyes, because of course Isaiah is recommending two Shan songs. But these songs are not necessarily just written about Ecclesiastes, but they talk about some of the concepts that we see in this book. The first is called Without Jesus. And it is essentially, hey, we can do all these things. We can look like the picture perfect Christian, but without Jesus in our hearts and in our lives, it's meaningless. The second song is called Under the Sun, and it, clearly by the title, is actually written about Ecclesiastes. And it paints this picture of somebody sitting down in front of Solomon and saying, hey, you're at the end of your road. You've had all this time and all this wisdom to think about things. Tell me what you've found under the sun. And Solomon replies with, get over the sun. Essentially, there's nothing here on this earth that is worthwhile and ultimately fulfilling and satisfactory. So go to the one over the sun, where we can find true and full and lasting satisfaction. Thank you guys. Have a great time reading, and we'll see you tomorrow.